Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Got Thrones podcast. My name is Alexandra August.
I'm Johnny Kolasinski.
And we are here to announce that we will be doing a podcast for Star Trek Discovery.
I'm sure no one's surprised, but this has been about 25 years in the making.
Or 3 days.
Or 3 days, depending on how you want to count it.
Johnny and I are very, very busy as of late, and we've always said that obviously we would do a Star Trek podcast, but we literally didn't get around to talking about it until Wednesday, which is why we don't have a title yet for it.
We don't have a title yet. We'll get there, we promise.
We welcome submissions.
We do. Got Trek is a little too SEO unfriendly.
A little too SEO unfriendly. Got Disco would attract the wrong kind of people, I feel.
Or the right kind of people.
Got STD would definitely attract the wrong kind of people.
Or the right
kind of people. Or the fun kind of people. Or the right people, depending on your proclivities. So, that's it. We will be recording Monday night. So most days you will have, for the next 10 weeks, you'll have content on Tuesday morning. We'll be launching the episodes both on GoT Thrones on the GoT Thrones feed for the first couple, about 3 of them, and then once we have a title and get our iTunes squared away, we'll publish in that vein as well. But we'll also give you plenty of announcements, so you will always, always, always know where to find this as yet unnamed podcast. Mm-hmm. And with that, I think, should we just kind of dive in?
Yeah. Since we will be putting this on iTunes as well, if you're listening to us for the first time, we are the hosts of GoT Thrones, where you guys are possibly listening right now, but we're also huge Star Trek fans. If you go through our back catalog of Game of Thrones discussions,
we managed to fit in a lot of Star Trek references.
Yeah, 1 in 2 episodes ends in a Star Trek tangent.
Yeah, Johnny and I actually met doing community theater when we were like 11, 12,
middle
13.
schoolers, pre-middle schooler, elementary schoolers.
And middle schoolers and junior high schoolers, depending on what region you're from. And we bonded over Star Trek. This was in the 90s when there wasn't really an internet to speak of, and if we had internet, it was AOL dial-up.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out chat rooms. And my friends were not cool with my like of Star Trek. They weren't, like, not going to be friends with me, but I definitely had to count the times I mentioned it in conversation to know when I was, like, using up my Trek credit. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Johnny and I shared an interest. We're like, oh my god, we can talk about this together.
Yep. And that friendship has continued for decades.
And has had an undercurrent of Trek running in it for many, many years.
Yes, it has.
We haven't done this in a long time, and we really should do it soon. But Johnny and I used to, like, stay up late and online just drink and Trek. We'd both flip on an episode and drink and then type things to each other. Yeah. And it was really, really fun, guys. I highly recommend you MSTK 3000 Star Trek in this capacity at some point in your life with a really good friend of yours.
Yes, especially Threshold.
Oh, God, Threshold, so underrated and so weird. Yeah. Voyager does not get enough credit for the boundaries that it pushed.
It pushed the warp boundary, so. Unrelated endorsement, if you're not following at @swear_Trek on Twitter, it is the best thing that is happening there.
Oh, God, Swear Trek's the best. But anyway, we're here to talk about Discovery. So let's jump in to just what Discovery is. What's the premise? What's the nitty-gritty that we already know? Mm-hmm. So, just if you haven't, odds are you know that Sonequa Martin Green is starring as Lieutenant Commander Michael Burnham, who is a science officer. She is the first human to graduate from the Vulcan Science Academy or be, frankly, educated on Vulcan. And Sarek, Spock's father, played by James Frain, is her mentor. Mm-hmm. She is initially stationed aboard the USS Shenzhou, which is captained by Philippa Georgiou, who is Michelle Yeoh. And I'm personally very excited to see this relationship and how it goes down. At some point, I believe during the pilot, she winds up being transferred to the Discovery because of a decision that she makes. This is these are just teaser information that's come out. And that when she transferred to the Discovery, she reports to Captain Gabriel Lorca, who's played by Jason Isaacs.
Who is also amazing.
Oh, yeah. And the comparisons they're drawing between Georgiou and Lorca is that Georgiou is more of a Picard and Lorca is closer to Kirk. Mm-hmm. And he's also apparently a brilliant military commander.
Yeah, they've been calling him closer to Kirk, but I think of him more of a Cisco
Yeah.
in that, not just because of the military aspect, but also because they've been pitching him as a little unhinged.
Yeah,
and so Cisco in Beyond
in the Pale Moonlight.
In the Pale Moonlight.
Or when he's
yeah.
When that Trill symbiont is inhabiting him. What was the name of the murderer? That was also a capital DS9 episode.
I want to know how much they had to pay to rebuild all of the scenery that he chewed in those scenes.
Oh man, if anybody can chew some scenery, Avery Brooks is right up there with Meryl Streep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's real good.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. It's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about Voyager lately just because of that Netflix statistic that came out a week ago that made me both happy and confused. If you're not familiar, Netflix published a statistic because clearly somebody working there really likes Star Trek. And
Netflix is outside of the U.S. releasing Discovery.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense that they did this math.
Yeah, exactly. So they did their it's still very specific. I still think this was someone's idea. I think this was a Trekker's like, dude, guys, we should totally do this because it's crazy. Look at these numbers. Apparently, the most rewatched Star Trek series on Netflix going episode to episode is Star Trek Voyager. Of the top 10 most rewatched episodes of Star Trek on Netflix, 6 of them belong to Voyager, and 4 of them belong to TNG. DS9 or the original series didn't even get on the board, and TNG didn't even win. Endgame is the most rewatched Star Trek episode on Netflix of all time. This is not
that one surprises the hell out of me. I understand Voyager because Voyager has some great episodes, but Endgame as the number one.
That's why people think it's a mistake or there's something wrong with the data.
No, well, I just think that it's you.
Endgame, no. I am the reason Resolutions has been watched millions upon millions of times. I have not seen Endgame since it aired because I'm still bitter.
Still angry?
Oh, on so many levels. But I kind of get it because the only explanation I could think of was that Voyager had more Borg episodes than any other series, and it really delved into the Borg in a way that no other series had, which is not something that I particularly enjoyed, but I think a lot of other people did because the episodes that made it on the board are Endgame, Scorpion 1 and 2, The Gift, Dark Frontier 1 and 2, and then Time After Time, that like first season episode where Janeway and Paris like go back in time a day and save a civilization that doesn't know they're about to die, and Paris yells at that kid that's bothering them because they're aliens. I watched that a million times because I love that bit where he's like, "We ate him." But so the theory that I came up with, aside from the fact that Star Trek Voyager taken out of context of the 2 other shows that surrounded it and bookended it is a better show. Or the shows that just did that anyway. But another explanation is just that all of these episodes are really, really top Borg episodes. There's like The Best of Both Worlds is up there, and so is Q Who, which is one of my favorite Q episodes because he's really, really he's really evil in
he's not malevolent. Bubbly mariachi band Q.
No, he's extremely malevolent.
Although that might be the mariachi band episode.
No, that's Deja Q.
Oh, that's Deja Q. Of course you know
also what I've rewatched millions of times. I think I actually had Deja Q on VHS. So that was a really... Okay, anyway, I've been thinking a lot about Voyager lately, and when I...
Lately.
Yeah, more so lately. And when I saw Captain Lorca on the Discovery and the way he walked, he really reminded me of Janeway's swagger.
Interesting.
Because Janeway is definitely, and this is from Kate Mulgrews' lips, more Kirk-like than she was Picard-like in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
She was daring. She wasn't afraid of battle. She explored when it wasn't always the best decision. She lived a little bit on the edge when it came to her job.
Yeah.
And Lorca seems like he has that tendency, but that he's also very, 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 very skilled.
Mm-hmm.
And very intelligent. And there's a reason he's gotten this far. So I think Janeway had her weaknesses and could be impulsive and a bit rash, but by and large it was suited to her position. And it looks like Discovery, just from one of the quotes that we heard in the trailer, is going to be on a kind of deep space assignment. It's going to be very, very far from friendly space. So that's kind of why I see the Voyager.
The ship is a science vessel.
Yes.
And not a flagship like the Enterprise or a battle awesomeness like the Defiant.
Exactly. It's not particularly maneuverable like Voyager was. It's clearly not designed to fly necessarily. At least, I mean, this is they could prove me wrong on that, but just looking at the design of it, it doesn't look like it's necessarily designed to be really maneuverable and to like get out of situations quickly. And you're right, nor is it a flagship. But it's big. It looks to be bigger than the Defiant. So once Michael Burnham gets to the Discovery, that's where we get the rest of the cast that you've already heard so much about. Doug Jones, Anthony Rapp, Rika Sharma, whom I'm really, really excited to see back in sci-fi.
Rika Sharma is...
the security agent. She's a security guard.
Where have we seen her?
Battlestar Galactica. She was Tori.
Oh, okay.
It's really, really unpredictable, terrifying, unnerving, unsettling character.
Yeah.
Tori had so many sides to her.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if she's not going to be playing something that's a little bit that... I'm curious to see her characterization. I'm wondering if they're typecasting her as the same sort of morally ambiguous, mysterious character, or somebody who really hides her motives and maybe doesn't know herself so well, or if she's going to be something completely different. She's going to be Yar 2.0. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I find the first idea interesting because there was a little bit of animosity in Enterprise between the Mako, the essentially Marines,
yes,
and the
Starfleet,
Earth Starfleet crew.
Yeah, essentially you'd be mixing two different, like, if the Marines are part of the Navy, so essentially the Marines are the land arm of the Navy,
right?
As to my understanding, and so this would be like putting the Marines on a destroyer or something like that. Not really,
right? Well, I'll be interested to see if there's that same sort of this is my territory.
Yeah, compartmentalization.
Yes,
of duties. Yeah, that will be really interesting because we are set fairly significantly after Enterprise, but before the original series, about 10 years before, and 10 years before the original series.
So the Federation exists.
The Federation exists, but we haven't seen Starfleet in this era, so we don't really know how everything is. We don't really know how people are stationed. So Doug Jones plays Saru, which is an alien species we haven't seen before. Not Saru is his name. I'm not sure the name of the species, but it's a species we haven't seen in Star Trek before. And as you've probably heard in the trailers, they can sense the oncoming of death.
It's interesting, like, when you take out the ominousness of that line, it's because they're a prey species. And so it's more of a...
You can smell fear kind of thing?
It's not quite fear, but yeah. I think it's a reactiveness as opposed to a fear-flight response. Like it's more it's a conscious thing and not a oh my god I need to hide in a ball.
Yeah, it's not like an animalistic instinct to be like a roly-poly bug or a potato bug or something like that, and nor is it like an empathy based thing or like almost a prophetic. It sounds like it's prophetic, and what it sounds like to me you're saying is that it's not prophetic, it's more biological, psychological.
Yes.
That'll be that's interesting.
And the way the line was phrased, it made it sound like they were genetically engineered as well, and that's not the case. Doug Jones is the thing I am most excited about on this show. I have a huge crush on Doug Jones. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I studied.
He's talked about that to Doug Jones.
I've talked about it to Doug Jones, and I got to hug him, and it was amazing.
It was our first Comic-Con together, and it was such a joy.
And then he remembered me when I saw him the next day.
I've not seen. I don't think I've seen Johnny happier many times than he was in this particular moment. It was really sweet, and I'm very glad I was there. I was there for it.
My first date was watching Pan's Labyrinth. He's both I'm making the gesture of the finger hands eye guy. He was in Pan's Labyrinth as the fawn and the creepy hand eye guy. He is basically in everything Guillermo del Toro does. He was in Hellboy as Abe Sapien, and the character is 7 feet tall, and Doug Jones is like 6'11.5". So he's probably
probably not on an Apple box.
Yeah.
So what is special? Doug Jones is a movement actor, and so he got his start in movement acting, and that's how he's progressed. Can you explain to our listeners who might not be completely familiar with what that means?
Essentially, it's a awareness of your body and what it looks like, and you inhabit your characters based on the way they move. There are a few different styles of movement acting, and I don't know specifically what it is that he studied, although I wouldn't be surprised if it was Laban. But it is I'm going to build my character and how I picture this character based on how they move and what the emotions behind that movement are.
And movement actors typically go on to do things like playing very physically odd characters, playing very physically strange. The woman who, like, for example, there's a woman who plays Samara in the last two Ring movies in the trilogy. So an adult woman, and I forgot her name, but she is basically kind of a contortionist. And so movement actors typically go in the realms of almost being kind of human animations.
Right.
So you see them in movies like
comedies.
Yeah, like that. So you're going to see that. That's why you see Doug Jones all over Guillermo del Toro's stuff.
Or I'm blanking on the name of Gollum.
Yeah, I was thinking
Andy Serkis.
Yeah, Andy, same thing. And they're like, so when you need a human to inhabit an inhuman form, you call a movement actor.
Right, and it's very different. It's different than dance because it's not a necessarily rhythmic, choreographed movement. It's just an awareness.
Doug Jones is a huge get for Star Trek.
Yes,
huge. This is a brilliant casting choice. I'm very excited.
More than anything, the casting of Doug Jones got me excited for the production aspect of the show.
Yeah.
Early on.
I agree. So Doug Jones aside from Doug Jones, I don't know Doug Jones's job on the ship. Anthony Rapp, however, of Rent fame and many other things.
Yeah.
Is Lieutenant Stamets, who's a science officer, and the show has been very, very specific about his job. He studies fungus.
Yes.
They've met, since the beginning, Lieutenant Stamets has been a science officer who studies fungus. They introduced his character with the actual, the CBS character profile lists the actual title of what that kind of scientist is, but they've
it's
all
a
now
mycologist.
He is also part of the first gay couple on Star Trek, which has been heavily publicized as well.
Right. It's at least the first. Well, technically, Sulu was gay in the movie series.
Gay couple though. Oh God, yeah, he was part of a couple. Yeah, he had a daughter too. Boy, everybody needs to shut up.
But first one on TV
for television,
and great. Fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I know Aaron Harburg gave an interview to CBR, I think, where he talked about the fact that Wilson Cruz is the medical officer on the Discovery, and he is Stamets' boyfriend, or they're dating. And they're apparently just going to be treated like a regular couple. I think the quote was he's like, visibility is not important unless it's visibility the right way. And so all they're doing is treating them as any other couple who also happen to be gay and on Star Trek, which is very momentous, but it will obviously not be treated like a thing on the show. And this relates back to Brian Fuller and his roots in Star Trek and his roots in creating this. Having an openly gay character showcased on a Star Trek series has been something he's wanted for quite a long time. If you're if you follow his career, he worked on Voyager and was going to create and showrun Discovery until he just had other stuff to do, which was regrettable.
Yeah, he got busy. I mean, but the idea of having an openly gay or bisexual character goes all the way back to Deep Space Nine, and originally Garak.
Oh, really?
There were initial thoughts to have A, Garak be bisexual, and B, that there was something to all of the lunches he had with
Bashir.
With Bashir.
I mean, I know the internet really likes.
I mean, it's possible that Andrew Robinson.
Yeah.
It's possible that Andrew Robinson picked up on that after the fact and said, "Oh yeah, I was playing it that way the whole time."
Oh, there should just be more Garrick in the world.
Maybe we'll meet his great granddad.
I just, oh man, if a Cardassian shows up on this show, I will be very pleased.
If a Borg shows up on this show, I'll be very pissed.
I will too. So
Anthony Rapp's a Borg.
He'd make a good-looking Borg. You know who didn't make a good-looking Borg? Catherine Janeway.
No, she did not.
I remember being like so excited that I was like, holy shit, they're gonna assimilate her. Then I saw it and I was like, no, guys, she looks terrible. Like, do something about this. Alice Krieg was a pretty smoking Borg queen, and so was Susanna Thompson. Why did poor Janeway look like a bald guy in a rubber suit? So unfortunate. Anyway, so Mary Wiseman is the last cast member we have aboard the Discovery that's in any way major. Her name is Sylvia Tilley. She is a cadet. She is working under Science Officer Anthony Rapp, or Science Officer Stamets, Lieutenant Stamets, and she...
Science Officer Mark.
Yes. And she ends up rooming with Michael. So she's hopefully what Wesley Crusher should have been.
Can I say that it's really weird to me that Burnham ends up the first officer, right?
I think sort of by default. She
has a roommate, and that roommate is a freshman.
No, I don't think that she's the first officer. I think she might become first officer, like I said, by default, but she wouldn't be a full commander. I think she's lieutenant commander, and the reason her nickname is number 1, I'm guessing, is because that's what Georgiou calls her.
Okay.
I'm guessing just because it seems like...
And because it's really an awesome throwback, not just to Next Generation, but to the original pilot of Star Trek.
Very... yeah. If you don't know this lore... Star Trek, the original series, had an actually filmed shot, which a lot of series do, shot an unaired pilot. It starred a captain named Christopher Pike, who had a female first officer played by Gene Roddenberry's...
Not girlfriend at the time.
Not at the time, yeah,
wife.
Actually. I know, I was like, wait, because didn't he date Michelle
Nichols? No, his wife wasn't on the show at the time.
Yeah, no. Her name... Majel Barrett. Majel Barrett played... Yeah, Majel Barrett, who would go on to play Luoxana Troi, Universe Diva.
Mm-hmm. And the computer.
Majel Barrett played Christopher Pike's number 1, and among other network concerns when they watched this pilot, they didn't like Christopher Pike that much. They thought it was a little too cerebral, and nobody liked a woman as number 1.
They didn't like Christopher Pike because he was Picard.
Yeah, and kind of a doof.
Mm-hmm.
And Majel Barrett who would like we said, eventually go on to become Majel Barrett Roddenberry, did actually work on Star Trek as Nurse Chapel. And she, instead of wearing pants and a nice brown bob, got a gorgeous blonde wig and a blue miniskirt because she was a medical officer.
I never thought about the fact that was a wig.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think the brunette in the original, original pilot's her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be spending a short time aboard the Georgiou, and then something's going to transfer Michael Burnham to the Discovery, where we'll meet all of these people. And
we've seen a lot of destruction of ships, but we haven't necessarily seen that any of them were the Shenzhou. Right,
I know the Europa is destroyed.
Yes.
There's a ship that's destroyed that has... And I think that's the ship... If you've watched the trailers, one of the... I think it's just the official trailer at this point where it shows the very large Klingon warship, the Bird of Prey, kind of coming in. It decloaks, and then it also shows a ship ramming the Bird of Prey. It's definitely not the Discovery, and I'm guessing it's the Europa, just because that's the hull of the ship that we see that is destroyed says Europa on it, and it looks like it rammed something. But it also could be the Discovery, or it could be the Shenzhou, Captain Georgiou's ship, because we don't know what that looks like. So that ties up the Federation Starfleet side of this, and now we can talk about the Klingon side of Star Trek Discovery.
Right. The Klingons are back.
They are.
The Klingons, like, in canon, are back from, kind of a nap.
A disastrous first date with the Federation.
Yeah.
So when Discovery was first announced, Brian Fuller very enigmatically said, we've picked a topic and it's something that's been mentioned in Star Trek lore but never directly dealt with. And he gave us the time frame, which was basically the 2240s. he said that's when the event occurred that will springboard what happens on Discovery. So, brief Klingon Federation history. The Klingons and the Federation make first contact, and it does not go well.
Yeah.
So, immediately they're both like, oh, okay, back away slowly. And there is what basically comes to what is referred to as the Klingon-Starfleet Cold War. There is occasional interaction. There are occasional dust-ups. But for the most part, it's a Cold War, and everybody's just sort of like growling at each other from across different sides of the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah.
So we think that event that Fuller was talking about was a confrontation at Donatu 5, which is a planet, I believe, that pops up in a lot of Star Trek series. It pops up in the original series in The Trouble with Tribbles when Spock is talking about the last confrontation they had with the Klingons. Mm-hmm. We don't know what the outcome of that battle was, but we know it was a battle. We know it was a big confrontation. And then, so the original series is kind of in the middle of the Klingon Cold War at that point. And then at some point, with the Council at Khitomer, I believe, the Cold
there's
War, in Star Trek 6, the war kind of ends.
Yeah, the war officially ends with the Council at Khitomer after the destruction of Praxis.
So the Klingon Cold War starts before the original series, passes through the original series onto the movies, officially ends during the movies, and Khitomer is... And the repercussions of the ending of this Cold War obviously felt deeply throughout the other series. The reason that Worf the reason that Worf is on the Enterprise is a result of the Klingon Federation War. Mm-hmm. So the Klingons in this particular era of Star Trek are really not. They had a lot of room to work with them because we don't know much about the Klingon Empire during this time in Trek history.
Right.
We just didn't have any contact with them. And what Discovery is saying, the premise of Discovery in this capacity is that the Klingon Empire is in disarray. Their houses. Klingon Empire is made up of houses. It's kind of like China in that. It's kind of like ancient China in that capacity. Or Game of Thrones. So you have these old Klingon lines. You have these really powerful houses, and the more powerful your house, the more powerful politically you are, the more powerful militarily you're likely to be, the more opportunities you'll get. So, but however, Klingons are warriors, so they don't always get along, and having all these houses and factions vying for power is problematic. So enter T'Kuvma, played by Chris Obi, who is the leader...
Who was in American Gods.
Yep. Who was in American Gods again?
He was Anubis.
That's right. Oh, I loved Anubis.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
Oh, that makes me happy. Good, yeah, because the little we've seen of T'Kuvma, people are bitching about how the Klingons look. Mm-hmm. They don't need to. They have captured the spirit of the Klingon heritage, or at least in the little bit that I've seen. I really feel like they've captured.
People also bitched about how they looked in Next Generation.
Yeah.
When we were,
People bitch about this kind of stuff?
Oh yeah.
I had no idea.
Apparently, if fans sometimes get engaged enough in shows to do things like talk about them for an hour and record it. And
only an hour.
Share it with other people. Those are casual fans.
Casual fans, clearly. So, did I interrupt you?
No.
Okay. So
I was just saying who he is.
Yeah, I really think. So T'Kuvma is the leader of an ancient house who wants to unite the houses, and he also is under the impression that he is the second coming of Kahless,
which we know he's not because we've met him.
We've totally met that guy.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, he's tooling around on Kronos somewhere. I love that
he's still there.
Kahless is basically sort of a Christ deity figure, mythological folklore figure, kind of like a combination of Thor and Muhammad and kind of maybe like Lao Tzu, very much not Lao Tzu, but Sun Tzu, almost. So he is the Klingon version of Surak, who is the Vulcan credited with turning them to logic. He basically created their way of life, or they credit that to him.
He created the concept of Klingon honor.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And the Klingons are obviously completely motivated and defined by honor, sometimes to an unhealthy degree. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and the idea, Kahless is a bit Christ-like in that, we learn in the episode where we learn about Kahless, which is in TNG?
It's in TNG, yeah.
That's right, yeah. There's supposed to be a second coming, and then he'll lead them to, whatever, world domination.
We learn about it, and then we immediately meet him because it's TNG.
Yeah, and I think he wound up being a clone.
Yeah.
But I actually there was a Kahless book that I read.
I read that one too. Really I was 14, so I don't remember it.
I remember they go deeply, one of Kahless completes trials, he's
Herculesy.
Yeah, well, more like, actually, no. These things are attributed to him. Like, he fell in love with this woman, and she died in battle, and he took her hair, and he put her hair in lava, and he took it out. When he took it out, it was a batleth. So he
that's how he forged the first batleth.
Yes, forged the first batleth out of some lady's hair, out of his lover's hair. And in the book,
are you saying that Kalis is Azor Ahai?
Clearly, he's the call that was promised. I don't know.
There we go.
It's Kalesi. So, Takuvma sounds like he could be an extremist.
Yeah, well, he thinks he's the second coming of Klingon Christ, so that's generally a sign. My kind of thoughts on Takuvma is that it's going to be, and this kind of ties into the fact that we'll probably see battle, despite the fact that it's a Cold War, is that he's leading
cloaking. So
yeah,
I hope there's a battle.
Yeah, and crashing.
Mm-hmm.
It is also, we've got a series, so I hope there's a battle. Is that it'd be kind of a cadet branch of an offshoot of the Klingon Empire rather than the Klingon Empire itself.
Well, that's the thing, because they say in the trailer, they call it out specifically, and they've said this in the some of their preliminary material, that the Klingon Empire is in disarray, which is probably the reason they're not. Probably the reason they're. I like that they're saying that because it gives a reason for the fact that there was a Cold War in the first place. Because every time I hear Klingon Federation Cold War, I'm like, do Klingons even do Cold Wars? Yeah. Is that a thing for them? Like, I feel
it's
like
not so much that it's a Cold War as much as they're busy fighting each other and don't have time for your shit.
Yeah, it's not all about you, Federation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man. Anyway, so the Klingon Empire is in disarray, and like I said, I like that because it lends credence and it grounds the fact that there was a Cold War between the Federation and Klingons to begin with. When Klingons are not known for their Cold Wars, they're known for just attacking.
For blowing up the planet of the Tribbles because there are Tribbles there.
Yes, and destroyed the Tribble homeworld. Klingons hate
That
Tribbles.
is a Klingon Cold. That is what it is called, a Klingon Cold War.
We just destroy your planet. We don't bother with any battles or anything. We just finish it real quick. The Klingons apparently have been sitting on this technology, planet destruction technology, for a very long time. They just don't like using it, because where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
But Tribbles are just annoying enough that they did it. So, and then there's also beyond that, there's Kenneth Mitchell, who's Cole, who looks to be Takuvma's protege, and he is the military commander. So Takuvma looks to be both political and I would assume also partially military commander, because all Klingons are military commanders in some capacity. They're all soldiers. Takuvma looks like he's probably a learned general a little bit, and I'm curious to see how his characterization plays out, if he's going to be, because it looks like, usually I find when we have Klingon-centric episodes and Klingon-centric series, we get a wide variety of Klingons. We get
Gowron and Martok.
Yeah, and we also get we get
Duras.
Gowron and Martok, and so we get Duras. We get completely honor bound and sort of takes himself way too seriously, lack of sense of humor, Worf.
Mm-hmm.
We get sinister, conniving people like Duras and the Duras sisters, who are completely dishonorable but have a name of an ancient house of power. And then we also get kind of like good time generals like Martok, who have a more relaxed, who kind of remind me more of Admiral Adama. Like they have a very clear idea of what honor is and what it is to them, and they don't need to shout about it all the time.
Right.
Like Worf does. They're very secure. And then you have people like Gowron, who is kind of equal parts Klingon and politician, and eventually kind of goes. I always liked the fact that Gowron was very morally ambiguous most of the time.
Gowron is the Frank Underwood of Klingon politics.
Yeah, the Klingon equivalent is definitely Gowron,
who thinks about politics but isn't a total scumbag.
Exactly. And then finally, in probably my Doug Jones of this, is Rainn Wilson cast as Harry Mudd. I am utterly second to, or like, and that is, and Sarek is James Frayne as Sarek is second to that.
Rainn Wilson, who is Dwight from The Office.
Yes,
and also a fantastic actor.
Brilliant actor. I'm like on it. We'll get to this in a second, but when we talk about things that we're really, really excited about. But right when I saw Rainn Wilson, I was just like, holy shit! I've never seen my series get this much street cred. when it comes to casting my series. But like, I've never seen Star Trek do that. And just knowing how fucking, like, how he'll raise the bar. All of these actors are so good.
Yeah.
It's, even if the writing falls down, we're going to have acting to pick it up. It's, I think that's really, like, that can happen. That's what we've been watching on Game of Thrones for the past 2 seasons. The writing has been secondary to the character work and the relationships that are finally coming to fruition on that show and are played to the hilt by this incredible cast. And so I'm stupid excited for the cast, specifically Harry Mudd. I reintroduced myself to this year, and oh, what a goddamn delight that guy is on the original series.
So Harry Mudd on the original series is this, laugh a minute played for comedy character that is essentially a sex trafficker.
He's a con man. Yeah,
he's a con man and a sex trafficker.
Basically he's really, Harry Mudd he's very funny, but the funny thing about Roddenberry in the original series is that he was really deft about weaving in these very serious events and serious concepts into what is a pretty campy sci-fi show. He talks, like, he sneaks in ideas about there being no religion and no God and all this kind of, and like atheism in the 60s, and he just weaves them into plot lines, and
communism.
Yeah, exactly. He weaves in all of these really elevated,
progressive.
Yeah, it's a very, thank you. He's very, very, very progressive ideals, but he also weaves in some really messed up shit. Like, Mudd is funny. He's definitely comic relief. Like, he wears an earring and dresses like a pirate and wears a cowboy hat. He also has a handlebar mustache that you could swing on. He's the best. He's constantly got something up his sleeve. You can never trust him. But there's also this vein of darkness through him because Johnny's right. Like, he sex traffics. He traffics women for an entire episode. And it's really ugly. And he keeps doing it. And so he's constantly on the run. And Rainn Wilson, specifically for this character, just makes my mouth water to see it, and which is a mixed metaphor. But he also specifically said that he was going to play Mudd with a darker tone. But he's like, they're absolutely going to be laughs, but I'm definitely grounding this guy in a little bit more darkness than you've seen before. And just the brief clip that we got, like, he touches into that madness.
Right.
And
You're
that
mad. I'm Mudd.
I am already really enjoying him.
So this is less Rainn Wilson and more just Harry Mudd in general. So there's been a lot of talk about Gene Roddenberry's role on Next Generation and how he kind of diluted it a little bit because he had kind of that creator syndrome of, this is my thing and we're going to do it my way. We're going to do my vision. But things like Harry Mudd in the 60s make me think that if he was alive and working in TV right now at the same period of life that he was in the 60s, that he'd have been the creator of Breaking Bad.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think that Gene Roddenberry would have found a really comfortable home in prestige television.
Yeah, that was the kind of story that he is absolutely capable of telling, but television was not at the time.
I think, do we want to just talk about stuff that we are excited for? Do you want to do some, like, three, do you want to do top
bullet
threes?
Points?
Like,
yeah.
just three things that you are really, really excited about, as specific or as broad as they want to be.
Yeah. Okay. You want to go with number 1?
Sure.
Okay.
I really like that from the shots that we've got, the space feels, the space shots, the quote-unquote exteriors, it feels way more like Battlestar Galactica space than Star Trek space. It feels vast. It feels unpopulated. It feels cold. It feels barren. It feels frightening.
It doesn't feel like you can sneak up on a spaceship by going under them.
And it doesn't feel like there is... Boy, Chakotay did that pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, never mind. I'll save that gripe. But yeah, it's the lack of safety, and they can't just run to the nearest M-class planet or like an H-class planet where we have to wear suits, but it's still okay because it's, not a gas giant, all this kind of stuff. So that was something that just really tickled my fancy because in thinking too about why Ron Moore left Star Trek Voyager, because he was frustrated with the lack of realism present in this ship that was stranded, 75,000 light years from the nearest space dock and still looked pristine and had all of its shuttles. And so he left and then went on to
make Battlestar Galactica.
Which is closer to the vision I believe he had for Voyager. And Battlestar Galactica says, like, in the first episode, I think Colonel Ty said something effective, was like, or maybe in the second or third, he was like, "Oh no, space is just mostly vast, empty rocks. Most planets are uninhabitable." Just, Saul ties his way into this conclusion that there aren't any fucking aliens on the show, so don't get your hopes up. So yeah, I'm excited for it to be not our friendly Star Trek playground.
Yeah. I would say, and I was very on the fence about it when we first saw that very first teaser in 2016. Might have been even 2015.
Not for Disco.
No, of Disco, where we first saw the ship. Was that 2016?
Yeah.
That was 2016?
Yeah, everything's been since 2016.
Exactly
what I meant.
I was concerned about the ship design. And from there, I have gone to very excited about the design aspects of the show. I think that even though everything doesn't look 60s clean, I think the show itself has a very good look and very modern, but at the same time, not feeling like we're on the bridge of Voyager.
Yeah, and that's a very delicate line to toe, because essentially what you're doing is designing technology to look like the design that somebody had in the 60s of the future. But this is 10 years before that vision. But we're still 40 years ahead of time. We're still 50 years ahead of the...
Right.
We're still 50 years ahead in real time. So obviously we're not going to be using the same materials or the same design that we did in the 60s, because the 60s vision of the future is different than the present day vision of the future, which is 10 years before that 60s vision of the future. So it's kind of complicated. And you really need to find a way to... They really, I think, I agree with you, have found a way to reference the original series design while still updating it without making it seem like the technology has already outstripped the original series. And the only thing that I felt that way about, that I felt the show wasn't super successful at, was the force fields that she is. There's a shot when Burnham is on the ship and clearly it's been destroyed, and she looks up and she's standing on the deck, but the bulkhead's been blown out, and force fields are basically the only thing between her and open space. And that was the only thing that I was like, ooh, that seems a little bit too futuristic for me, because they didn't have the...
Because they didn't save Kirk in Generations.
Yeah, that too. Well, they were getting them on Tuesday.
Oh, right.
Didn't have them up yet.
Now I need to watch Generations again just for the Tuesday jokes.
I wonder if 10 years beyond now, if 20 years from now I'll be able to watch Endgame, because it took me a good 10 to 15 years to be able to watch Generations, because I was so brokenhearted at the useless and unnecessary destruction of the Enterprise. and then Deanna gets blamed for it when they would have crashed anyway. There's a book that follows Generations that I read. I think it's Imzadi 2.
Ship of the Line? Oh.
No, it might have been No, it was Imzadi 2, and it was a follow. It started right after Generations, and Deanna, it
was also a follow-up to the softcore porn that was Imzadi 1.
Oh man. Not nearly as much sex in Imzadi 2. I was very disappointed. So Deanna Troy is apparently walking around after the crash, and everybody keeps going, "Nice landing." And it's just really mean, because...
And she knows that they mean it, because she's an empath. She knows that they mean to be dicks.
Yeah, guys. Anyway, so what are you most excited to see?
Well, like I said, the whole design choice is probably my number one.
Okay.
My number two, well, we've already talked about Doug Jones in in depth. But so I would have to say that my number 2 is probably the exploration of Starfleet from a perspective that is not command down.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody has been that episode of Lower Decks on TNG has got to be getting watched more. At least there's got to be a bump. And I say that just because that is Lower Decks wasn't a phrase before that episode, and that episode focused on just what you think it was instead of focusing on the senior staff like every other Trek show has done, and like most Trek shows do continuously. They focused on the ensigns, the people, the red shirts that we see running around engineering and on the bridge. Just anybody that you don't... I think Nurse Ogawa appears in it.
Nurse Ogawa is the only known character that appears.
Yeah, and none of those characters ever appear.
Or that is focused on, because we see the command officers, but we don't see them. We see them tertiary as part of the scene.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's really Star Trek world building right there. Mm-hmm. Is just this idea, like, we understand the captain and the senior staff functions. We get that structure. Like, what is life like at the academy? What is life like? Not that I really want to see that, but what is life like when you just go and you work a shift in engineering and you live on the Enterprise or you live on the ship and you work as a science officer? What is that?
Yeah, you study mushrooms, but how often do we really encounter mushrooms in space?
Yeah, because also Next Gen, I'm actually excited to see that this is a science vessel. Mm-hmm. Because we've seen those before. We've heard tell of them. Janeway worked as a science officer on a science vessel, and we've heard of them, but they've obviously never been center stage because Trek is, the last couple of series were focused on the politics and wars and exploration of the Federation, not necessarily like, okay, we're just going to figure out this thing on this planet and see what it says about other things that we know. And I'm excited to see that kind of thing because we've seen a lot of different types of science on Star Trek. We've seen stellar cartography. We've seen, well, that's the only one I can think of.
We've seen astrometrics.
We've seen a lot of astrometrics. Lots of astrometrics. Yeah, mostly those, I guess. But we've seen a lot of those functionalities. We've heard them referenced, but we've never really delved deep into that side of Starfleet.
Right.
And so how about anything else that you have a third?
Well, it ties into the world building aspect, but the fact that this is going to be a serialized show, and that means that there is going to be a focus on the world of the show and not the plot of the episode. Mm-hmm. That they are building an arc of the series by definition. And for me, that is, I feel like one of the reasons that Star Trek as a cultural phenomenon stuck around as long as it did is that they accidentally, to an extent, came up with that arc of the series and of the overall universe of the show and stuck to it relatively consistently. But I'm very excited to see something in line with the better episodes of Deep Space Nine, which are the ones that did have that that were building on each other.
Yeah, that had an arc.
Consciously.
Yeah, the best episodes of DS9, I mean, aside from the Magnificent Ferengi, which you could be considered part of the overall Dominion arc, are part of the Dominion arc, or are part of the overall Bajoran Maquis arc, or just the Bajoran arc in the beginning.
Or even the Ferengi arc.
Yeah. Yeah, there were lots of different... Yeah, you're right. God, now that I think about it, DS9 was really, really serialized in a lot of small ways. Like, they almost had less... I mean...
The episodes themselves were capsulized, but the fact that that Quark's mom was a little bit of a hippie by Ferengi standards came back 4 times.
Yeah.
And ultimately became a major thing.
Well, I think because they hit on something. I remember watching The Next Generation, and all of my daydreams about it were about, like, wanting to know more about the crew personally, because The Next Generation was a pretty formalized show. Mm-hmm. Everybody was pretty... It stuck really, really, like, pretty much through the entire series, decently close to Roddenberry's original vision that all the conflict was external. Wasn't true all the time. But for the most part, everyone on everyone on the senior staff gets along. They're generally friendly. Nobody has, like, not until All Good Things do we see this really big conflict and division or schism between Worf and Riker.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, we get to see kind of the amusing sides of their personal life. Like, no one suffers from depression. No one goes through a breakup, really. Nobody, like, it's bored or stir crazy. We don't see Picard. We see Picard in his cities a fair amount just because he's the lead. But for the most part, you don't see behind closed doors as much on Next Gen as you did in DS9 and later Voyager. And that's I agree with you. I'm excited to get even more of that.
Mm-hmm. Picard has a crisis that comes from literally losing his humanity, and it's essentially solved until Hugh comes back in season 6.
I was really looking, like, I remember watching Family for the first time right after The Best of Both Worlds, and I was like, wow, this feels strange that they're dealing with this. Like, it felt, you can feel the intimacy of
It was
Family.
A very special episode without being treacly.
Exactly, and I feel like
it doesn't get the credit.
Well, I have to wonder how people would have responded to The Best of Both Worlds without Family. Because I think it was groundbreaking and paradigm shifting, but without Family to acknowledge the utter world and, like, brain melting trauma that Picard went through, I feel like it would have carried less weight.
Yeah,
all told.
That's a really that's an interesting line of thought.
And I love Picard's brother so much.
Yeah,
I love Robert.
And Remy is a not annoying child actor on Star Trek.
Renee, you mean?
Renee.
Yeah, I think, that's his,
It is Renee, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, serialization, excited about. I think that as a whole, Star Trek does well with that, and it's one of the big... Okay, now I'm thinking about Enterprise, and so as a whole, Deep Space Nine did well with that. No, Enterprise did well with it too, it just didn't have the ratings.
Yeah, Enterprise's problem, I don't think, again, was its structure. I think that it was just, people were tired at that point. I think Voyager would have been a good ending point. They didn't see red flags at the beginning that they were, going through sort of tired tropes. And
and UPS didn't know what they wanted the show to be.
UPN, you mean?
UPS didn't know how to deliver boxes into space.
UPS was like, we're not a television network.
Yeah, but we like the jumpsuits, so we're going to go with that. But can we get them in the scant?
So, really honestly, and I just mentioned this before, I am positively delighted. It just really makes me happy and makes me frustrated on a whole other level with confirmed trolls who are not going to be happy no matter what this show looks like. I am really, really pleased at the caliber of talent in every single capacity. In every single job. The caliber of talent is blockbuster feature caliber, is HBO caliber. It's Malik Panchali is on this show. I forgot to mention that. These are brilliant, I think brilliant actors. And Jeff Russo, the composer, also composed for Fargo and composed for Legion.
Which was amazing.
And the music was such a defining and haunting and cool part of it. This is a composer who knows how to use music. It's not just going to be like, okay, we're in Troy's office, so let's hear some strings.
So they did release the Discovery theme, which we listened to before recording this episode again, and is great. And it's also very reminiscent to me of Michael Giacchino's work. Who, as far as TV series goes, did Fringe, and I think is one of the, and also did the Star Trek movie themes for the new Star Trek movies, and I think he's one of the better composers working in film and in television today. And Jeff Russo's theme for this series is very reminiscent of that, which I love.
Yeah, it's at parts. How would you describe it?
At parts, it is the same high classic orchestralness of Wrath of Khan or Undiscovered Country and their themes, and other parts it has the little bit of well-nuanced ominousness that we didn't have, in my opinion, until very recently. With the exception of things like Jaws, we didn't get the same way of addressing looming badness
the sort of musical foreshadowing.
Musical foreshadowing in film until very recently. But he's also not, they're not doing the bwams, bwam, or at least we haven't heard those.
No, they are really paying, they are paying a lot of homage to the original composer. I think his name is, Jesus Christ, sorry. I can't, Courage, Alexander Courage.
Yeah, Alexander Courage.
I was like, Kurg, what is that?
Yeah.
So they pay a lot of his original opening. We get that original like that like really soft. I think it's a chime almost that they bring out.
Yeah.
That sort of that like I love, which is the opening to both the original series and Next Generation, which they strayed away from with DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. And I love that because it's this tiny pinpoint that communicates the vastness of space. And I will never not think it's appropriate to open Star Trek with that sound. It will never get old to me. And he actually he pumps they play there's a few bars of that original theme that starts it, and then it morphs into
it goes the chord structure changes slightly in the doo-doo-doo-doos. Or in the do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
It does. Yeah, it's not exactly the same. And it really just transitions beautifully into into the original Discovery theme, which then finishes with the Next Generation trombones. Oh, truly good. It was the first time I've been, I think, emotionally compartmentalizing Discovery until I could really pay attention to it. I haven't really been following it. I haven't watched a lot of the trailers. Because I know once I am plugged into it, it's gonna take over my life. And today's that day.
Yeah, you're basically listening to us mainline Discovery.
So,
yeah. So we're excited, obviously. Concerns.
I'm trying. I think part of the reason I don't have too many concerns is because I haven't really been connected to it, because Johnny and I both, I've worked in this business, I've worked in this industry, and Johnny and I are both pretty plugged into both the actual content and how it's made. Wouldn't call myself a huge expert in any capacity, but I didn't want to hear signals of something that I knew was bad until I saw the show. So part of me is just kind of trying to stay away and not form an opinion, because I can be unbiased about this show at this point. I think both of us can, because we've reached a level of professionalism and just our discourse and talking about this and writing about it. And I really wanted to go into it with no expectations, or at least positive expectations, and not only see the problems that that I would already know to be there, I guess. Outside of that stuff that I can't ignore, and I'm hoping you can talk about CBS, but it's a concern that they didn't release screeners. There are valid reasons. Yep, there are valid reasons that they wouldn't. It's a leakable show. Game of Thrones just went through a bunch of leaks, but usually it's not a vote of confidence for you not to release screeners, because essentially what you're doing is stopping anybody from giving an advance.
You're stopping people like us from being excited about it, from sharing our excitement about what actually exists with the audience.
Well, just basically, and that's usually a bad sign. It usually means that the powers that be don't have faith in their own product. Right. And it's not testing well, and they don't have time at this point after, they don't have any time or money to change it or anything. So they're just they're going to put their best foot forward and see what happens. Or it could simply be that they don't fucking need to, and they don't want to, and they don't want to risk leaks, and they want to kind of let the internet speak for itself. A lot of movies are doing that as well. They're not getting advanced reviews. They're sort of, I can't support the reasoning behind that. I can't remember the conversation I had with that, so we'll skip it. But
I can't support the reasoning behind it, but I can think I can believe that it is possibly because they believe so strongly in the product that the fact that there is that people will see the pilot and the barrier to entry of CBS All Access will dissolve.
Yeah, and because I think honestly, and fingers crossed that it's this, I think that if it is that good and they just let it drop, it's going to be a huge explosive win for CBS, for Star Trek, for All Access, for anybody who had doubts about this, sorry, I just choked. A huge victory for Aaron Harbarg and Gretchen Berg, who basically everybody's been talking about the fact that Brian Fuller left, and that's when they got really worried, but they are not paying attention to the fact that Brian Fuller's basically like right-hand people. Two of the writers who've worked with him on since Pushing Daisies are show running this show. So It's not Brian Fuller, but it's Brian Fuller.
Yeah.
And he is, obviously, he wouldn't do anything else, but he's wholeheartedly endorsed them. And if you've watched any of his stuff, their names are all over it. Like, it's, so yeah, here's hoping, I hope that's what happens. And part of the reason I haven't really looked into the show that much is that I wanted that to be my hope. And then if that hope is dashed, all right, I'll deal with that. But I want to hope for this. I want to give it as much, I'm so happy that Star Trek is back, and I think we're so lucky.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy it's been given this much credit. Like, the show isn't fucking syndicated. It doesn't have like B-list actors on it all the time. It doesn't have crappy effects. It has it has an amazing composer. It has amazing writers. Akiva Goldsman is on it, which, you know, people feel differently about that. It has huge name stars who are all incredible actors.
Yeah.
Sonequa Martin Green just walked off The Walking Dead. Like, this is the most street cred in this industry Star Trek has ever gotten. And I just want to enjoy it until I can't anymore.
Yeah, and I guess my concern is that CBS thinks that a good, strong Star Trek is going to be enough to bring people like you and I to not just to CBS, when people like you and I, like, and a lot of our generation don't watch network television. We watch things online and on Hulu and on Netflix.
Well, yeah, and if I'm watching network television, I'm not watching anything on CBS.
Right. Yeah, we're not watching Big Bang Theory. We're not watching NCIS.
No.
And
my mother is.
Yeah, my dad is.
She hates Star Trek.
My dad loves Star Trek. But I think that this series on its own, if it's good, could have drawn us to CBS itself. I don't know that it's going to draw. I worry that it won't draw, no matter how good it is, a lot of our cohort to CBS All Access, where we will get 8 episodes of Star Trek and NCIS and Big Bang Theory. And
that's the thing. I agree. Like, essentially, the problem with CBS All Access and with Star Trek being on CBS is that, yeah, CBS essentially owns it, but I don't think there's crossover. There's not crossover demographics between the Trekkers who could really, really, really boost this show's ratings and make it stand out and really make a difference. I don't think there's crossover between them and the typical CBS demographic. There's not crossover between the Legion audience and the audience that would be brought in. Yeah, the Legion audience makes fun of the Big Bang Theory. And frankly, that's where that's where I want to see Star Trek live, in that kind of like sort of niche prestige television, something that is definitely still a genre show, but it's treated like, something like a Breaking Bad. I think Legion sort of hits that sweet spot. Like Legion or Preacher, like I would love for it to kind of live there, because I think when Star Trek Walking Dead. Yeah. Because when Star Trek tries to be mainstream, it's unfortunate. And my concern with to build off of what you said with CBS All Access, if they don't get the amount of subscribers that they want and they blame Star Trek for that, I'm not so concerned about it getting canceled. I'm concerned about it getting changed the way Voyager was ordered to change. Yeah. And that will break my heart, because that's really when and we'll start seeing Sonequa Martin Green and a catsuit. Yeah, or we'll see her, like, there'll be an Alien of the Week. We'll do more capsule episodes. They'll get rid of, they're like, oh, we'll just make it like old Star Trek. And then the fans, like, I don't know. I worry about how they would react to that. And hopefully they'll just be like, fuck it, we'll sell it to Netflix. I don't know how any of this part works. Like, I don't know how this works. I don't know if CBS could just put it on Netflix.
Netflix is distributing it everywhere but the US. However, Star Trek, as we saw from the audience to the films, does not have the worldwide draw that Star Wars does.
No.
So I don't know that Star Trek Discovery on Netflix International is going to be, like, breaking record numbers. However, it will eventually get on Netflix US after the season ends. And it will be very interesting to see how many people didn't choose to watch the series on CBS All Access, but do end up binging it on July 1st, Netflix. 2018, on that first day. That is not an announced date. That's just me pulling numbers out of my butt. When it launches on Netflix US as a full first season. Or if they even end up launching the first half of season 1 on Netflix in December or January.
That would be interesting, just because they already have a relationship with them. If they would bump up the release of the first half of the season earlier before the I would
not be surprised to see that.
Especially if the ratings are low on CBS All Access, they'll want to.
I also don't think we'll ever see the ratings for CBS All Access.
No. But I mean, it's going to be pretty evident if we start seeing CBS pull some really weird moves. Like, we'll just release it right now. All of it right now. Yeah. It's on CBS All Access. Then we'll know that it's not going well. But the problem, too, with CBS All Access and the demographic conflict that lies there is that essentially you're asking Star Trek fans to sign up for a service that will be $7 a month, which means they're paying
$15.
$15. But, like, more than that, because you're probably not going to, like, I doubt people will cancel it.
Yeah.
Forget. Like, you're paying money per, fairly significant sum of money per Star Trek episode, because that's the only thing that you're watching. And I think people have probably done the math on that, and thinking about that math kind of pisses me off, because I don't appreciate the show. Like, for CBS to put the show behind a paywall seems money grubby to me, or seems very manipulative to me, and I understand their strategy, and I know that, like, I can't expect this giant media corporation to have a heart and, like, treat my series the way I want it to be treated. So I understand the motivation for it, but it's galling. It is annoying. Now
I'm going to stroke my hipster beard as I tell you that I don't have TV. So I don't have BBC America, which means that I don't get Doctor Who and I don't get Orphan Black. My wife and I paid I think $30 to get Everything Next Day on Amazon.
Oh, right, for the series pass.
Yeah, the series pass for Doctor Who and for Orphan Black.
Mm-hmm.
We're okay doing that. I'm a lot more okay doing that for a show that I like than I would be for CBS All Access.
Well, and also, too, Star Trek's always been free. And it's tough to put something that wasn't behind a paywall. And I think that might be the root of my indignation, is just that, like, this is something, Star Trek is one of the most inclusive shows and universes and franchises. That is its core base belief, or core, like, that's basically the nuts and bolts of its operating system, is inclusiveness. And this isn't inclusive.
Yeah, and there's also just the fact, and I'm probably speaking to everyone who's still listening right now, and speaking of everyone who's still listening right now, myself included, Star Trek fans are dicks when it comes to how we feel about our Star Trek. There is this is the right way to do Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And so
You've all been talking about an age of nostalgia. Star Trek fans live nostalgia.
Yeah.
They are we love
and it
this
is for
stuff
a very specific season of a very specific series, and it differs for everyone, and we'll fight about it for hours.
Yeah, but it also, and because of the internet, because there's not, etiquette on the internet as of yet that we would like, people get just really dumb about it. Really, really, really just dig in their heels about what they expect and what they want. And it sounds a lot like, people take a lot of ownership over this franchise to the point where it gets really obnoxious sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's like, you didn't create this, you didn't write it, you have enjoyed it, and you've enjoyed it for free. On the other side of that, I've enjoyed it for free, and it's been lovely because more people can watch it. So it just makes it more annoying. that's more annoying that I'm like, okay, cool. So we are.
And I bought a hell of a lot of paperbacks.
Yeah, I've given a lot of money to this. Anyway, so I guess I don't know.
That's my big concern is that CBS All Access is not the right channel for it, and that CBS will view the lack of success of CBS All Access as a lack of success of Star Trek.
Yeah. And I guess it would just be like, what to do with it? What would they do with it at that point?
Yeah.
I almost, because it's...
I'd rather see the CW doing it.
If only for... I wouldn't like that just because it's skewed so young, and I feel like they wouldn't be allowed to be as cerebral. What I do like about it being on a streaming service and be on a paywall is that we're going to get some swearing and some nudity and some real violence. It's an MA rating. That I'm excited for. I don't want them to be gratuitous about it, but to... Just because without that, like now that like basically all I watch is cable, it's really when I watch
it feels unnatural.
Yeah, it feels really stagey and weird, and like it's like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore in the twin beds in the 50s. I'm like, you share a bed. This is stupid. And so I just want to see that much. And Star Trek's it's a military show. The fact that nobody frigging swears. This has just always been. It's just a little too pristine. So I like that they're going to be able to muddy it up a little bit with.
I have to say, so I've been reviewing the Orville for GeekExchange.com, which Alex hasn't seen yet, and I actually recommend. I think it's good Star Trek. But one thing that I have liked is that the little bit, when they haven't, there have been times where it's gone Seth MacFarlane dick jokes, but there have been other times where it's just been a little bit of just slightly off color enough to make it not feel squeaky clean. And I've liked that a lot. Like the most recent episode deals with a character that wants to give their baby a sex change because it's a single gender species. And the first officer, who is a woman, is the measure of a man, Commander Riker, in the legal proceedings about this.
Oh, no way.
No, well, not quite, because she's on the side of let the baby be female. And she talks about tits being a pre-existing condition. And that fit, and it fit the world, and it didn't feel off color. Tits. And she used the word tits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't want it to be gratuitous on the show, and I don't think it will be, just given the way they've talked about it. I'm hoping this is more of like, I'm hoping this is like Hannibal levels of
MA. As opposed to Stargate Universe.
I never watched that.
Yeah, join the club. Stargate Universe was dark for the sake of being dark.
Yeah, and what I mean, like when I say like Hannibal, I mean what they got away with. Would NBC let Hannibal get away with? I'm like, you guys are watching this, right? You're seeing what's happening on network television. Is anyone watching?
You can't show a butt. What if we cover it in blood? Okay, that's fine.
How about we cut a woman up into 20 pieces of very thin... How about we slice women up into 20 pieces of very thin slices and spread her out in window pane glass? Like, they got some very creative... The murder tableaus on that show were incredible, but mostly because I was like, what? You guys are going to get arrested. You can't put this on television. So I'm hoping it's that level of, like... It's not, it's not an Expendables movie, but it's definitely an adult show. And because that's also been I think the problem that really, really, one of the big problems with Voyager and has been a problem with Star Trek since the beginning is that in a lot of times they think their key demographic is young boys. Like,
right.
Young boys, teenage
it
boys.
Is let's get a Borg in catsuit and heels.
Yeah, and we'll do some.
And I love 7 of 9.
Have some cool. Yeah, that's a sad thing about 7 of 9 too. Like Jerry Ryan's a great actor, and 7 of 9 was a decent character, but it's hard to get past the fact that she was blatantly brought in for that reason. It's frustrating. Like I feel bad that there's so much of that criticism that still follows that character around because she was really groundbreaking in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and she gave us Barack Obama.
She what?
Jerry Ryan. This is going to be a tangent. Let's give this, but Jerry Ryan's divorce She was married to the congressman that Barack Obama replaced.
Oh, that's right. And he liked to have sex in public.
He liked sex clubs and things like that. And so her divorce led to him being either impeached or not reelected because all of that became public. Mm-hmm. And he was replaced by a young kid from Chicago named Barack Obama.
Thank you, Jerry Ryan.
Thank you, Jerry Ryan, for saving the timeline.
Yeah. Speaking of timelines, we're about to hit almost 2 hours. And folks, if you're listening to this and you're like, wait a minute, this was just an hour-long podcast, that's because I cut a lot of it out. So, so you can expect new content from us and this, like we said, As Yet Nameless podcast Tuesday mornings. We're going to be recording Monday nights. The show airs on Sundays, 8:30, CBS All Access. We do not condone you downloading this show instead of paying for it, but we understand.
Yeah.
Not like this series, not the podcast.
Right. You can pay for the podcast if you want.
Yes, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
We have a Patreon.
We do have a Patreon. But I highly recommend getting that free month of CBS All Access. Because you can.
It's a free week, isn't it?
It's a free week?
I just got it last week for the Emmys because I really wanted to watch them. And I was like,
I thought it was a free month.
Mine is a free week. If there's a free month offer out there, then you...
If we can find it, I'll share it.
Congratulations. Yeah, I know. I didn't get that. Thank you.
CBS, guys, come on.
I know. Yeah. So
this is the CBS Guys Come On podcast. I've just given us a title.
So stay tuned for announcements. For right now, we'll probably throw everything on the Got Thrones Facebook page and also on the Nerd Server Facebook page, which is another a podcast website that we are going to be affiliated with. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll try and be as public as possible with our announcements once we get the name down for this podcast and a confirmed home for it. But if you just keep your ears plugged, you can follow me on Twitter at ALXAugust. You can follow Johnny on Twitter at
Cycloptico, CYCLOPTIKO.
Thank you. And we will certainly be talking about times, dates, names, websites, where to find this new show. So don't worry. If you want to listen to it, you'll be able to.
That's right. So thanks for listening to everything. Let us know on Sunday what you think of Star Trek Discovery so that we can react with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, we'll open up a thread on the Got Thrones Facebook, and you guys can, if you're listening to it on that and on that communication vein, it's just facebook.com/Got Thrones. We'll pop up in a Discovery thread. And until we get everything set up for this new show. And reminder, we'll be posting at least the first 3 episodes of our Star Trek podcast on the Got Throne and the Got Thrones train, as it were. So if you're subscribed to Got Thrones, you'll be subscribed to the first couple of episodes of this podcast, and then we'll scooch everything over to our new iTunes stream and everything is like that. So
yep. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for listening to all of last season of Got Thrones, and we will talk to you again Tuesday. We did.
Yeah. We hit record numbers, so thank you so much, fans. Just our hearts pitter patter. And Johnny is correct when he says that we will speak to you on Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Long and prosperous.
Yeah, nerd.